Hello, my name is Maria Carrero, and I will be presenting the first half of our research project titled The Influence of Culture and Gender on College Students' Attitudes Towards Aging.
Hi, I'm Natalie Del Valle, and I will be presenting materials and methods.
And I'm Callie Tavares, and I will be presenting the rest of our project, results, discussion, and limitations.
The global population is aging rapidly. According to the United Nations Population Fund website, virtually every country in the world is experiencing growth in the number and proportions of elderly individuals. In 2020, the World Health Organization reported people over 60 outnumbered children under the age of 5, most of the elderly being females. We can thank modern medicine and birth control for that. It is estimated that by 2030, 1 out of 6 people in the world will be 60 years or older. Studies have shown that a negative attitude can have an impact on a person's health and well-being. For example, a negative attitude can lead to depression, which can lead to overeating, that can lead to health issues such as diabetes. Negative attitudes can also have an impact on society as well, like the workforce. Young adults with a negative attitude towards aging will avoid working with elderly adults, which there is a great need in the medical field today. A negative attitude in the medical field can lead to poor health care for our senior citizens. The goal of the current study was to examine possible associations across culture, gender, and attitudes towards aging in a sample of college students. Our first hypothesis was collectivists and individualist cultures will view aging differently regardless of their gender. Our second hypothesis was attitudes towards aging will be more positive in males than in females, regardless of cultural background. The sample for our study consisted of 90 undergraduate students, mainly from the psychology department. The majority were juniors and seniors between the age range of 18 to 25. As you can see in Figure 1, 78% of our participants were female, seen in orange. 80% of them had daily or weekly contact with mostly fit elderly. Over 60% of our participants identified themselves as collectivists, seen in red in Figure 2. Natalie?
Thank you, Maria. Our survey consisted of 3 parts: the consent form, the demographic questionnaire, and the attitudes to aging questionnaire for young adults, also known as the AAQI. In the demographic questionnaire, participants were asked a series of questions/statements related to their cultural background. The questions were rated on a 5-point Likert scale. 1 equals strongly disagree, and 5 equals strongly agree. Scores were calculated and participants were allocated into one of 2 groups, collectivist or individualist, based on their score. Below Figure 2, you can see the statements that were scored together, red for collectivist and green for individualist. The third part of the questionnaire was the AAQI. The AAQI consisted of 24 questions falling into 3 subscales. The first being psychosocial loss, which aging is seen as losing connections, roles, or purposes. Psychological growth, aging brings wisdom, meaning, and self-acceptance. And the third subscale being physical change, aging affects the body, health, mobility, and acceptance. Sample questions and statements can be seen in the poster above the results section. These questions were also rated on a 5-point Likert scale. Callie?
Thanks, Natalie. Our team ran a point-by-serial correlation SPSS to determine the relationship between gender and attitudes toward aging and between cultural background and attitudes toward aging. The independent variables were male or female and collectivist or individualist. The dependent variable was the attitude scores on the AAQI subscales, psychosocial loss, psychological growth, and physical change. Significant correlations were observed between culture and 2 subscales of the AAQI: psychological growth with a p-value of 0.007 and physical change with a p-value of 0.002, as seen in Figures 3 and 4. No significant results were observed for gender. We also performed an independent samples t-test, which indicated that participants with a collectivist cultural background scored higher than participants with an individualist background on psychological growth with a p-value of 0.004 and physical change with a p-value of 0.001. You can see these results in Figure 5. These results tell us that cultural backgrounds may play an important role in shaping young adults' attitudes toward aging. Specifically, cultural backgrounds seem to impact how young adults view the physical change and psychological growth aspects associated with aging. Cultural values can shape the formation of attitudes toward aging. Future research should continue to study the different cultural backgrounds and genders given the diversity in America today. Some of the limitations of our study were that we had a small sample size. 78% of the sample was composed of females. This skewed the results of the analyses that included gender. Another limitation was that the demographic questionnaire included a few questions about cultural background. In an open-ended question, 70% of the participants picked a mix of both backgrounds, which required us to score the cultural questions that Natalie spoke about earlier. Also, the AAQ has very low reliability. An analysis of Cronbach's coefficients for the individual subscales suggested poor internal consistency for the physical change subscale with an alpha of 0.53 and the psychological growth subscale with an alpha of 0.66. At this time, my team would like to acknowledge the following people who helped complete our research.
First, we would like to thank all the undergraduates who volunteered to take our survey, especially the non-psych major students.
We would also like to thank Joy Artist for teaching us how to use SPSS.
And of course, a very special thank you to Dr. Heloisa Alves for her guidance and generous support in helping us complete our project. This concludes our presentation.